Hey y'all, it's Kandron.
What's up? What's up? It is your girl Dehjai, and we have a guest
Collectively,
this week.
well, collectively, we're Black and Curious. So,
Listen, cousin
we
is a little tipsy. Sorry.
maybe uh, the girls have recorded already this morning, so y'all know what it is for the third episode vibes. But we do have a guest.
All right. Did you want to introduce her, and then we'll bring
Oh,
her
this
in?
is this is my bestie. This is Joy, and if you watch any of our lives, you have heard us say, "Hey, Joy." So now,
Now we can say it while she's actually here.
so now you're gonna meet
Hey,
Joy.
Joy. What is going on?
Yes.
That intro was hilarious.
We crazy around these parts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you having a beverage, dear?
I am. I have some red wine. My favorite.
Oh, praise God, amen.
Little
I
cap
think that's yes.
Yeah.
Deja, are you still partaking? Or are you done?
Listen, she is not partaking
No.
any longer. No,
Okay.
we have to put that down. Sis was like, "Oh, we feeling a little bit too tipsy too soon."
I made myself a second glass of.
Well, you have that. Listen, when we
Um,
was having a conversation about the church's wine, I was already drinking.
Well, I was classy and I did not drink while we were talking about church. Thank you
Classy.
so much.
Right, thank you. The shade.
Out of reverence.
Listen, they was drinking the wine in the church house. Don't do that.
I'm just saying.
They were. They were.
I am just saying what I did versus what you did. Anyways, well,
shady.
we have brought Joy here today, dragged her into our mess to talk about, a luxury of sorts. So, as you've probably already seen a video, we talked about luxury not just being about things, but about experiences and all sorts of things. Like there's all kinds of ways to be luxurious, in the words of Tanika B, who we love here. So today's conversation is about the luxury of having options. So yes, Joy and I again are very close friends. So we are always talking about, the luxury of having options.
God bless it.
God bless it. God bless it. So, as just a little bit of background, we see the girls on Twitter talking about this all the time of like, there's so many things that our grandparents and specifically our grandmothers didn't have the options of like opting out of really. They had to deal with shit relationships or, whatever, because they didn't have either money or the ability to make money. And really therapy. A lot of our therapy.
Didn't believe in it. The therapy was going to the church house that we talked about in the beginning of this here episode.
This is mirroring me, so I'm pointing in the wrong direction. But yes. So yeah, we just want to talk a little bit more about that. So, Joy, what have you opted out of recently?
What haven't I opted out of?
Well, first, tell us more about yourself. Tell us what you want us to know about yourself, or what you want the people to know about yourself.
I'm originally from the 757 area, like the others. Minor shout out to them.
We shaded them the last time. Quiet as kept.
Very minor.
Now I'm in the DMV area, mainly Maryland, and have been up here for about 14 years. Did the whole consulting route. Those from the DMV, that's the buzzword everyone talks about. Now I work for the big man in the sky. So you can take that as you will.
All right.
Yes.
Definitely first generation, just about everything. First generation college, first generation woman to live on her own, first generation woman to drive.
Really?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, people drove later, but having your license at 16 was not a thing.
Wow.
Whatsoever. I still have aunts who don't have a license.
Wow.
Huh.
In the year of our Lord 2021, that is
Oh my
different.
God.
Yeah.
And to be clear, we're not in New York City where you can pump it with no license your whole life.
Yes.
No.
Like that. I mean, was we footing it? I just have so many questions.
Use your relatives, your man. So again, if you're relying on a man to drive and get around, that luxury of options is not something that you have, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
I would say first generation of having options.
Dang.
Y'all look shocked.
Because we are.
Man, listen, the driving thing is shocking me because I have relatives that won't drive on the highway, but
Yeah.
they can get from point A to point B now.
Yeah.
The only reason my mother learned how to drive is because she left to go into the army and she had to learn.
Wow.
But yeah.
I am that is crazy. That is like
Hello?
wild.
Hello? Because I'm like, we are children of the 80s. Like, women was doing things. So it's just so that,
No.
wow.
My main side of the family, my mother's side of the family is from Port Tobacco, Maryland. It is very rural. My grandparents literally had a tobacco farm. So yeah, it wasn't that long ago, but they're way further back than most people would be. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. That I need to collect myself after that. Like, wow.
I'm like, she done threw us for a whole loop.
Correct.
I mean, most people
my
drive.
question is, being the first of like even the most mundane tasks that we consider mundane, like driving and like handling your own business, how does that feel when you are with your family and you're talking about your experiences? Like, what does that look like?
We don't. We don't. I was talking to Kandron about this. The interesting thing is my cousins who maybe are in corporate America get more questions and accolades than I do because no one understands what I do. I work with Congress a lot in grant funding and getting out money, and people don't understand what that means. So you really don't get questions about it. When I bought my house, people was like, my uncles was like, "What man bought you this house, girl?" And I was like, "I bought the house."
Actually, just me. As it turns out.
Like, what?
Wow.
Wow.
It's like a lot of comprehension that I can't do things by myself. So without that comprehension, people don't really ask you much. They just assume you're doing great.
That's a word right there.
Yeah. So you don't get help. You don't get questions. No one checks on you.
Baby.
Because you have the things. So it's just like, she must be fine.
Child, when I packed it up,
make you feel?
Listen, when I packed it up and pumped it from Virginia, the girls just did not check on me.
Listen.
It was years that I carried around that resentment that I never received phone calls, like nobody ever checked on me. Because I was just like, I mean, y'all bailing people out of jail. Why can't I get a couple of dollars slid into my bank account? I can use help.
Is that you're good, right? Like I graduated from college. I went to college locally in the 757 area. And then I got a random email for a job that I had to be at in 1 week. And I just up and left. And people was just like, "Where are you going?" And how you gonna get here? And then when I got here, I, made it to the DC area. Half of my family's here. People was just like, "I don't even understand how you got here, so whatever." Like, I'm not gonna.
I know I look so crazy.
Yeah.
My facial expressions tell you everything I'm thinking. I'm like, what?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't have family support. I just don't think they always know how to support me.
Yeah.
And that is the thing.
That part.
Well, I have a ton of family support. They're just like, "Hey, girl, I don't know what quite questions to ask, so I see you still among the living. So glad to see it."
So glad you're still here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I guess like what I wonder too is like, do you even want, like, what kind of support do you want if you want it?
I would love check-ins. I would love visits, and not just from family, from friends too, right? Like where we grew up, one person from back home used to come to visit me and doesn't even anymore. I see Kandron, who lives in Florida, more than I see.
I get you on that one. But I mean, I think that's a testament to the friendship that you all have. And or that
Yeah.
like we equally have with Kandron. You know what I'm saying? Like she is intentional about staying in touch with the peoples, which I appreciate.
Yeah. It takes work.
It does.
But both of my parents, since I've graduated, have died. You think my family checks on me? Because the assumption is I look okay, so I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay thanks to friends and therapy now. But
Shouts out to therapy.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like to have both by the time you're 35, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever had an opportunity to express what you wanted and or needed with them?
Good question.
No, I think with my cousins, yes. My cousins are better about it now, but I can admit I do put on the persona that I'm okay.
We all do.
Yeah.
Don't mean
We all
that
do.
still. Yeah.
I do.
You know, like I mean, I think that's like a American trait or a Black American trait, to be
I'm
honest.
gonna say Black women for sure.
It's a Black woman trait. Yeah.
Like it's funny, when my mom died, I was 25, 26. And people, my family here in Maryland, would go past my house to go visit my dad in Virginia Beach to make sure my dad was okay. And I don't get anything. It's funny now. It wasn't funny then.
No.
Like,
That would hurt.
I mean, I think I benefited slightly because maybe I was just sensitized slightly because my mom was a single parent and she was still like, took the route, got a government job, rose up in the ranks, blah, blah, blah. So bought her own house, bought another house. Like she very much didn't look like she needed much, or she needed help. I love your shirt, by the way.
Right.
Just didn't look like it. So I became more resistant to the fact that people didn't really like bother us or check on us. Like we had each other. But for the first time when and my family's still close. So like they still congregate together on a weekly basis. It's very soul food. My family's very soul food. But for the first time when I left home, I felt like I'm actually out here trying to like advance us as a collective and move us forward and give my cousins something to look up to. And you Blacks won't even call and check on me? Like, for real? And nobody did, other than just my mom. I've gotten better about reaching out to people. But I think it goes back, Joy, to what you were saying. It's like people they just think you're all right. Like they're like, yeah, she's good. They just assume like you're out there. They're proud.
Yeah.
But they just assume you're all right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is like they don't have an understanding of what your experiences are. And so like when they did call us when we were like, say, in undergrad, like you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it feels from this side like we're just giving you a report of the same things over and over. So after a while, they lose interest in trying to see about you. I know, like for me, that's been my experience, and then I've seen it happen to my younger cousin who also went off to college because I was the first, and then she came right after me. Well, several years later, but like for a long time, I was it. So I guess like I understand the same token of like, well, if all you gonna say is, I'm fine, school is great, I don't, there's nothing really going on, then people lose interest in wanting to check on you, but it doesn't mean that they shouldn't. I think that they just don't know how to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Oh, sorry, Kendra, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think that's fair. Go ahead.
Yeah, say, I think that's the biggest thing, they don't know how to, which is why I don't take it personally, because like all the checkups on me always went to my mother and my father. So it was never like a direct outreach, right?
Yeah.
And then I would just see them at the family functions, which we have all the time before the pandemic. So it wasn't like missing anything.
Yeah.
Wow, man. That, considering that you have had great loss in your life and these are your relatives, I would think that they would have just a wherewithal to be like, hey girl, let me tap in. You doing all right? You know, how's life? What's new? As opposed to nothing at all.
Yeah, but I know if I needed something from them, they would be right there. So I can't say they wouldn't be there for me, but if you've never checked on someone directly, it's kind of hard to start the pattern, honestly.
Yeah.
Fair.
I would agree.
Yeah. I'm not excusing, but I'm saying like once a pattern is started, it's kind of hard, especially
for sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
So one of the luxuries I want to talk about, since I got my homegirl here, is the fact that we've had sort of the luxury to grow together.
Oh.
Which I think is really special.
Yes, I agree with that.
So Joy and I met very randomly. Friend of a friend. I told y'all I be meeting everybody, friend of a friend. Me and Dehjai met friend of a friend too.
Be stealing people's friends.
It's not intentional. It's not intentional. Hello.
Listen, we go along with the plan.
I'm
Okay.
I'm like, y'all come willingly, child. Anyways, there's a whole backstory. Like, we probably should have met 100 times, but we just never did. But we met when we needed to meet. And so we became really close really fast. And then we were just like, I was like, well, I want to go on these trips. You want to come, girl? And she was like, yeah. And so
not the side eye.
I mean, that's really what happened. And so we just started kind of going places and doing stuff together. And we've been like, I think I talked in the first episode about the trip to Greece. I went with Joy. We went on a trip to Colombia together. We've traveled, domestically together, Atlanta 150 times. Our best weekend ever was when we did a concert in DC. We did Watch the Throne in DC. This is like cemented our friendship forever.
Yeah.
And we went to the Watch the Throne show in DC where Joy lives. So I flew up to Joy. And then we did the show. We went to New York the next day. And we met Rashi, which you saw in my LA vlog. Then we came back to DC, partied or something. And then I just flew myself back to Miami, but it was a great time. And so like, I feel that our friendship in my life especially has been special in that we're kind of down for whatever. Like, and we had the luxury of really like making more money together. Okay.
Experiencing first, for sure. Yeah.
Yes. And like, as a result, like some of our first trips might have been a little rickety, but like our last trip was a good time. And like, there was no counting pennies or any of that. It was just like, girl, okay, go, whatever. So I would love to hear more thoughts on that if you have any.
No, I completely agree with you. I don't think I thought of it in that way, but we definitely grew together. But here's what I'll say. We grew differently together, but we still understand each other, right? So I very quickly climbed the corporate ladder. I don't even know how it happened. I was just there. And it was kind of a win. Like, I remember getting my first offer letter and it being more than I ever thought I would make, period, in Virginia Beach. And me being like, where can I take this? Let's see.
Yeah.
And man, have I taken it, right? So, and then in the meantime, Kandron was trying to figure out her career, but like personal life was flourishing, right? So we both can be like, you know what? I understand your issue, even if it's not mine yet. And support each other in that way. I think some people need to support each other because they're in the same place doing the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. We've had to learn each other doing opposite things. So there's sometimes Kandron's like, I'm having a bad day, and Kandron's like, girl, look at your life.
That is a very Kandron thing to say.
Oh, get off my phone.
Woo!
Like, I think we've respected that it's in different ways, but we've also pulled each other along, right? So, like, I'm having a hard time. Sometimes I just need a trip to Miami to get out and get away. Yeah. So the luxury of option being, I can go to Miami whenever I want, or I can meet Kandron in another city. That's how we started traveling.
Yeah, it is.
Are we going to meet each other in our cities? Or are we going to meet each other somewhere else? And all of a sudden, we're traveling all around the world. And I remember when we were sitting in Greece, and Kandron was like, "Oh, this is the life I knew we would have." And I was like, "I didn't." And she was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I never thought I would travel and do all this stuff. You just said to go, so I went."
It shocked me. And just like to bring that moment full circle, I actually called my grandparents from Greece, and it was like a moment I'll never forget. I just like showed them, like took a FaceTime and like showed them around, and my grandma was like, "Oh my God." My granddad was half asleep, but my grandma was like very much into it, so.
That's beautiful though. Having experiences that your grandparents never could even dream of. Like,
yeah. Absolutely. Even in some ways our parents.
Yeah. For sure.
For sure.
I'm definitely living proof of that at this point in my life.
Yeah, my mom always talk about, I never got to live on my own. I think it's so cool that like you live on your own. And I was like, yeah, I guess.
I mean, we don't know any different. So to us, it's just like, okay, yeah.
I mean, I did, but I was just like, I never thought about it because all I'm looking at is like, I gotta pay these bills by myself.
Man, listen, that's the one.
That's the one. They be so excited, but like, baby, this is not that glamorous life. I'll be happy to be splitting bills or not pay any at all.
Listen, I can't wait. Bills. I can't wait. I mean, his name wouldn't go on this house, but I can't wait.
I'm like, wow.
I'm with you. On
that. I'm already
like, mine. And what's yours will be mine too.
Rent the house and keep the money separate, and y'all can go move into something together.
Wait.
That part.
I'll be independent, like, because I have to be, but I can't wait to proportionally split some things or not pay at all.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. But there's also something to the fact that even when you're splitting, or when you get to the point of splitting the bills or not paying them, you can move on if some shit happens.
Listen, ain't that
you can pack it and pump it.
Yeah, and not miss a thing.
That's
the
part.
Very
important.
So
that is the part.
Yeah. Years ago, I went through a really bad breakup. And after I came out the fog of it all, I was like, and my aunt was telling me this too. She was like, well, you don't lose anything. And I was like, this is true. I was like, if anything, I'm in a better position. So I can be thankful for that. As much as I resent people talking about me having the things and the life and the travel and stuff like that, I am thankful for it because it does allow me to, if something's going wrong, I can get away, or I can hire a therapist and talk to someone, or, just sit in my house and do nothing. But it's not going away because I don't have to deal with some rickety man.
Yeah.
So I am thankful.
And I am a living witness to that because when my mom left her first marriage, we went and lived with my aunt. Like it did not, things went away. Okay. It was like we went from townhouse, like a really nice townhouse. We went from townhouse to my aunt's house to apartment. Like there was some steps in between before we got back to where things were. You know what I'm saying? So it is amazing that somebody can leave your life for under whatever circumstances and you not miss a beat.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm thankful And then I'm able to afford a therapist to help me get back on beat. Like,
right. You might be emotionally off, but you can pay for some help to get you right. I feel.
And I didn't realize the importance of that. I actually did not realize how blessed I am in my life until this pandemic hit, actually. And
say more about that.
I feel horrible for that because I think I resented a lot about my life of like, there's actually a downside to not being dependent on people because you forget how to be. Right? Like you forget. I think the only reminder I constantly have is my friends. Because man, are we there for each other. So I know how to be there for someone, but sometimes when you're not dependent on people, your peace is so comfortable that you don't want nothing to disturb it, right? So I actually resented a lot of things that I have because I felt like it was holding me back personally, until I realized like that's obviously not the case, right? Life has definitely showed me that. But when I was in the pandemic and I realized like my work didn't stop because I work from home anyway. You know, I had a place to stay over my head that was well taken care of. I still had my friends who could come over or I could see via Zoom. Like nothing really stopped in my life.
Right.
And to be able to say that is a blessing that I didn't think about at all. And so I was just like, cause I like lucked into my job. Like, who knew that we would have jobs where you could work from home to be pandemic proof? Like, no one could have like projected that.
It's true. I
but
can
it's
echo
people working in those roles for years, and we just didn't know about it because they don't talk about it.
Yeah. The only reason I knew I always needed a job where I could work from home is because both of my parents were sick long term, right? And so when my mom was sick 10 years ago, working from home wasn't really a thing. But luckily, I worked for a large consulting firm at the time where it was an option. And I remember thinking, I will never not have this option because my mom was sick. I had to be in Virginia Beach for 3 months. Imagine not working for that long time, still having to take care of it here. So I was like, I'll never have a job where I can't work. So I moved around to figure out how to do it. And then eventually, for my own selfish reasons, I moved around to see how I could do it full time. Because if I have a stressful job, I'm going to be at home.
Hello, I'm trying to get there. Okay, Sister Joy, I might have to tap in for you to help me.
Work, networking, and God, because it was really luck. Yeah, I could have never predicted that. And then going into the pandemic, and it was like, yeah, we're just gonna do this forever. It was like, oh, okay. Like it just made me really. I saw people struggling.
Yeah.
Like you go to apartment complexes and people are getting evicted now. Like it's terrible.
It really is.
Yeah, I can echo the same thing. Like, even though being in the house all the time is not my zhuzh, and I like to be out and about in the streets, the fact that I really just set up my little office setup and kept it moving. And in fact, my job, because of the industry I work in, got busier because of the pandemic. It was just wild to me. And it continues to be wild to me because I have not set foot back in that office yet. And even when we do go back to work, I think we're going to be there like 2 days a week, which I'm fine with just to get out of the house. But yeah, like really nothing changed. And honestly, I saved a lot of money between them calling off the student loans. I was like, girl, I don't have to pay them anymore. One. That's money I will be saving. Okay. Money not going out, being in the streets, not putting gas in my tank. I was like, is this why I've been spending my life?
Listen, we're not going to talk about the amount of money I gave to charities because I was like, do I save this amount of money? Like, it was insane. That's why I was at that charity fundraiser last weekend. I could not have fathomed how much money I was spending just being out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it like I didn't qualify for the stimulus, but man, did I get my own stimulus because
girl, that's a blessing.
how we were able to ball out in LA, because it was like, this is my first trip.
Mine as well. And I was like, and so how much is it? Fine, I'll tell you the money right now. Like, not concerned.
Not concerned. That's a blessing that I did not
It is.
Think about it all. And it's funny because Kandron and I have been traveling since we were like 25, 26 together. And now, you know, it's like 10 years later, which I can't believe that. And it's like our trip looks way different now.
Way different. Okay.
Listen, I aspire to get there. We ain't there yet, but we close.
You're right there, friend. You're right there.
Oh
my God.
Too.
So go ahead.
What'd you say?
Oh no, it's gonna look different for everybody, including Dehjai too. So it's just like you can't navigate no one's life because yours is so different.
Yeah, sure. And even like Joy was saying before, even though like we do a lot of stuff together, our lives are very, very different.
Yeah.
Very, very different. So yeah, I think it's he said, like we've been talking about, this is a luxury to be able to have grow with your friendships and be able to have options to do the things that you never thought you would.
Yeah.
For sure.
And the option, like, to not be so judgmental about it. Like, someone's having repeated bad days. It's like, girl, have you thought of therapy? Like, you don't have to do it long term. Maybe a couple sessions.
Yeah.
But you have not been okay for a while.
And I realized like that therapy is actually a luxury. Like,
it really is.
It really is. And to be able to go have the type of health insurance to be able to go frequently or be able to pay out of pocket all the time, or even like in my case, to be able to even pay my deductible at the beginning of the year and like not really blink. I'll just be like, okay, girl, well, tell me when it's over so I could start giving you my, you know, whatever, my copay instead. It's like, that is so dope. And it's like, it's not everybody's experience. And the things I have learned in therapy, I would not have learned anywhere else.
I agree.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Especially not so fast.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hello. Or at all, to be quite honest. Because like, or our family members who came before us for sure don't have the tools that we have. That we've gained access to through the therapy and education and being in other tax brackets that they've never even fathomed, like for sure.
Yeah. Or that we never even fathomed. Like, I never thought I'd make as much money as I made. I was like,
I mean, same for me.
Not for me.
I do a lot of
like but the thing is, like, you always have those. Well, I know when I was a kid, I always thought I would be wealthy, but like, as I got through high school and college and all that kind of stuff, and reality started setting in, I'm just like, oh, well, yeah, that was a dream. I don't know that this is going to be a reality. But the closer I get to having some sort of like financial comfort more than what I have now, I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, we getting closer.
Yeah.
Like I'll say though, financial comfort, it's not a particular dollar amount. Because what I'll say is here in
true.
There's a lot of people making a lot of money and they are broke.
Yes. I can echo that in Miami. The girls have leased their whole entire lives. And I am just like, how do you live like that? Like every dollar that they make, they lease something else. And I'm like, so you don't own anything and you don't have savings either. Okay, cool. Everything's still going on your credit card, but you're making a lot of money. Like you're doing well for yourself. So like it matters. Location matters.
Yeah, I think it matters, but also like discipline matters. Because I remember I got to a certain amount where I thought I was going to buy the BMW and all that stuff, and then I was looking and was like, my savings don't equate to that. What happened? And then I realized
now.
It was like everything you're doing doesn't match with what your goals are. I had to change my entire financial picture, like on how I was doing things and setting everything up. And then I was just like, okay, now I see what I make. But I didn't see what I made until probably about 5 years ago. Like, and I should have seen it much sooner. So yeah, it's really about what you do with that money, because it don't matter how much you make it. Because financial creep and social creep will always be there.
Yeah.
Because you start making a certain amount of money, especially in DC or any major city, they expecting you to pay for lunches. They expecting you to pay for dinners. You start having interns and you start having mentees. You got to pay for those people.
Absolutely.
Like you go out with cousins, they expect you to pay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, true. That I've experienced that, but I usually be looking at them like, no, I am not the bank.
Yeah, I only do when I feel like it.
Hello.
Like it, but and these aren't necessarily my cousins, but I'm just saying, people expect you to pay, and I'm used to going out with friends who are like sneaking to pay, or like we pay in half. Like it's a very different situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that oh, sorry, go ahead, Dehjai.
I said there's something to be said about that for sure. But go ahead.
Yeah. And those are the things that like I think we don't really those are the things that come along with it that nobody really tells you about. Like you just kind of end up in the situation. You'd be like, now what happened? Well, okay. Oh, all right. Well, I guess I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the markers, I guess, too. When you feel more comfortable to do those types of things. I think that made me feel really good once I got to a point where I was like, oh, I'll take this one. Or like you said, we're sneaking around like, no, give me the check. Give me the check. And you're like, all right, somebody take the damn check, and whoever didn't take it next time. And like getting to that point, it actually made me feel really, really good and accomplished, more even than the dollar amount, feeling like I felt good that I had, again, the option to do that.
Yeah. I love it. I
love it too.
Go on like dinners and stuff with my cousins, and I'm like, oh, I got this one. Like I love that. I will say there is a budget for that. Like I have a certain amount for a family fund. If something comes up with my family, as long as it's up to that amount or under that amount, I don't care what they need. But if it's over, I'm gonna do a thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Oh,
thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
She said, I'm gonna talk to the Lord about it.
I can't. Not thoughts and prayers. Not.
All I give you with the thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
But I love it, especially with my friends. Like when we were in LA, and I was like, oh, I got this dinner. Like I love that stuff because y'all be so like, stop, I wanted it.
My favorite thing about being in LA, and like this is a small thing, but it made me feel really good, is like when the check came, we were just like, here, split it 3 ways, or here. I half the time I didn't even look at the check. Stuff was just coming back. I was like, okay, girl, sure, let me sign my name. It's fine. Whatever it is, it's fine. I love that feeling of like I could just be and be happy and
do whatever.
And we can have a good time and there'll be no problems about anything.
Yeah, to me that's true luxury. Like I love being able to do stuff like that. But I'm also doing it for people I know appreciate, or like people who have been with me in the trenches and stuff.
That matters.
I've weeded out a lot of people that don't work with, because not everybody's gonna appreciate it or like see it as a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some people are gonna think that every time you go out with them, like that's what the situation is gonna be, and like the answer is no.
Yeah.
No, honey. I'll let you know when I won't do it.
Or like it's not stunting, and I think for a long time I worried about that. Like, are people gonna think I'm stunting? It's like, no, I'm just doing a good thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? Those people that hit you with you think you better because you make X, Y, and Z because you're doing something nice, that's something that they got to work through. They don't have anything to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I realized that in therapy.
Because I definitely came across in my well before I was even really doing anything, but I remember distinctly, especially in high school, like a friend of mine, which is stupid, but like a friend of mine, I gave her something that I had because she liked it. So I gave it to her, and it was like, oh, because you got a job now, you got X, Y, and Z. And like when you start to see those things early on, it makes you aware of like, oh, okay, people really just don't know how to accept things And that's not on me. I didn't do anything wrong. But I had that lesson early in life, long before I had any money to speak of. But yeah.
And just a few more words about therapy. Therapy is that, girl, because if you haven't been friends, it really does help you to like, for me, I'm in therapy for life transitions, right? So like from life going to one way to another, be that personal relationships, be that family relationships, be that career. That is why I am there, to help me feel better about going from one space to another. And how we're talking about how we have like grown up, really kind of grown together. It's like those are things that have been transitions. And I think it's been nice to have somebody going through the same transitions together, but also somewhere to go to talk through that stuff so that you're not ending up, spinning yourself up about it,
Yeah. Absolutely. Or having that friend being like, is this normal?
We have a lot of is that normal conversations, and I don't know that we're the best audience to really have those conversations with, but
yeah, that's another thing too. I think in growing up together, I think we thought our life was a little more normal than it is. And then we had to realize like, no, there are people who life is very different from you. Like I always used to say I'm a very simple person.
I hate that shit.
Through friends and therapy, I have had to move away from that. I was like, my life did not be as simple as I thought it was. And I don't necessarily always realize that because I work and live in a bubble of most people who are well off, make over or well into the six figures, and that's not normal. And I didn't see that for a long time. I thought if you moved to this area, that's what you did. And that is not the case at all. So I've had to work on in therapy gratefulness, and just reshaping how I saw myself. Because I was just like, what's the big deal? Why is this so difficult? And it's just like, why do people see me this way? And I didn't get it at all. I'm still that same little girl that grew up in Virginia Beach. And that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah. I totally agree. Like, again, just that transition is like what therapy is there for. I definitely also had to learn about gratitude for different reasons. Again, we have a lot of, and same with Dehjai, like we have a lot of the same struggles, but from different perspectives. So mine is very much like, and Joy always says this to me, like, things are not turning out necessarily how I had thought they would, but it's not a bad thing. Like,
good job, man.
Yeah. So I'm having to like reprogram myself of like, no, girl, like you actually are doing fine, and that is good, and that you ought to be grateful for that. So I've definitely struggled with that and am working through that.
Yeah. Sure. It's like, just because it's not the life you thought you was going to have doesn't mean it's not a good life.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think people should stay stagnant forever. I also don't think people should be reliant on therapy forever. Some people use it as a crutch.
Yes.
It's like their ultimate talking point. Whether they're manipulating their therapist or not. Because some people are in therapy manipulating their therapist.
Which is ridiculous.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like, what? You're not getting any therapy if you're able to manipulate the therapist. That's dumb.
No. And it could just be as you leaving out a key part, but it's still manipulation. So, but yeah, there's definitely resources for it, tools for it, thankful for it, and then thankful to have people who don't look at it as like, girl, what's wrong with you?
Hello. That is definitely important.
Yeah.
It's definitely more than Louis Vuitton bags and Givenchy.
Ciao. Annie is. That's all I'm gonna say. Annie is. Even though those things are nice, and like Like I told the girls before, Fendi is that girl for me. So if you see me popping through, I don't want to hear a word about it. But
Yes.
it is more. It's more to it than that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, I think we covered everything. Anybody got any last thoughts?
No. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
I
you
was about
for
to say, thank you
joining
for
us.
coming.
We're gonna have you back to talk reality crap.
Yes, this is our reality TV trash friend. Hello.
All right, well, that's it, friends. Follow us everywhere, Black and Curious. All the information will be in the description box below. Tell us what other ways you are finding in your life to have luxurious experiences and live a life of luxury in your own way. We want to hear about it in the comments, and we will talk to you soon.
Uh-oh, we got feedback. Bye, y'all.
Bye. I was like, what happened?